Hello, welcome straight to SNTV for the weekly transfer talk show. Obviously hosted by myself this week by myself, Ian Patterson. Today's panel, in actual fact, we've got two brilliant regulars on, but we've brought back Sam from Goal from last week. I'm going to start with him. How are you doing, Sam?
Very well, thanks, mate. Very well.
Good week since we saw you last.
Week, yeah.
Busy week, yeah.
Yeah, it never stops, does it? Never stops.
Transfer window winds on, and it gets more and more busy, doesn't it, pal?
Definitely does, mate.
All these football tournaments. Anyway, getting further onto this, we welcome back our friendly Pasha from the States. How are we doing, Pash?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you for having me on. Always a pleasure.
Always good to have you on. You with the wrong overlay, but never mind. Steve, I'm coming to you, pal. It's always good to have you on. The Johnny Evans scenario hasn't popped its head up just yet, but presuming you're still happy with the idea that it's not.
I've got no idea what you're talking about, mate. Were we drunk that night or what?
No, this wasn't a drunken night between us, pal. This is what you said on the season review show.
I'm calm, mate. I'm calm.
He's calm about it. Not the fact that Johnny Evans has not disappeared yet, or the fact that it's we're not gonna know if he does or not at the moment. I'm gonna start with Sammy anyway. I was reading up on Goal.com today. Obviously, the big news today over the past couple, 48 hours, was Sergio Ramos from Real Madrid has been linked. Obviously, a lot of people talking about the price, the Hay sort of deal that could be going on. It's a bit of a strange one that came out today from was commented on, but it was actually reported by Radio Marca in Spain. They said they had a colleague, the player's brother, hand his agent that said that Ramos would find it very difficult to stay. So can you put any more light on this situation for us, Sammy?
Yeah, well, everything coming out of Spain at the moment, I mean, it really does point to Ramos wanting to go. I mean, whether he wants to go to United, we'll find out later in the summer. But it really does seem desperate to go right at this point. It seems his relationship with Florentino Perez has broken down completely. He thinks, well, he's annoyed that Madrid haven't backed him against all the criticisms from, you've got the Madrid press, but some of them are for the president, some of them are for the players. Some of them have been criticising Ramos, and he's annoyed that the club haven't backed him. And he's also asked today with his meeting with Real Madrid that it calms down a bit on the media front because he thinks it's getting all a bit out of hand, and they're trying to call him a money grabber. So if he does go, all the blame gets put on him. The other interesting thing is last week the Barcelona presidential candidate who said Ramos had been offered to him. Ramos suspects, according to a few reports in Spain and Sid Lowe in The Guardian, that actually came from Real Madrid, that it was Real Madrid who put an intermediary in touch with the Barca candidate, knowing that the fans would think that Ramos was trying to get as much money as he can and go to Barcelona, and that's pissed Ramos off as well. So yeah, it really does seem like everything's broken down there, and it does seem like he wants to go, and obviously he wants a lot more money than he's on at the moment.
Yeah, there's been a couple of recent sort of people that have been linked with United that have not come to United and end up with bigger contracts and stuff like that. So yeah, I can understand why he wants to keep this sort of in the low. The mention that you said about Sid Lowe with The Guardian before, I read his article that came up this afternoon as well, that said about this morning's meeting that he had with the club, which is sort of strange sort of situation to be in for a player if you're going to have to want to try and calm down transfer rumours about yourself. If you're unhappy with the club, especially with the president. I know these Spanish teams are a bit of a strange one in the way that they're ran right at the top level. And they're quite outspoken sort of people, the presidents at Real and Barca. So it's a bit of a strange situation that we've got ourselves under here. But does the United really need Ramos? And we pay this. We've got Hummels lined up. We've got Varane lined up. There was a picture somewhere on Twitter this week that I posted onto my Facebook, and it literally had every single player that United should have actually been lining up next season, and it covered an entire football pitch. So, you know, do United fans need to keep? Do we need to keep calm on this? Would you say?
Well, I think it'd be a great signing. I mean, personally, last week I talked quite a lot about Otamendi. I'd personally want Otamendi above anybody else this summer. I think it'd be great. But I mean, it looks like that might be on hold for a while now with this Ramos talk. Well, it does look legit. It does look like United are interested in him. Yeah, I mean, along with Gerard Piqué, he's won the most trophies of any defender in the world. You know, he's won the World Cup, 2 European Championships. He's won 3 league titles and the Champions League as well. I mean, he's made 130 appearances for Spain. You just don't do that unless you're a good player. And we were talking last week about dressing room influences and big dressing room characters. And I think obviously he's the vice captain of Real Madrid, and you know, he seems perfect for Madrid. This is why it's such a strange story. He seems like, you know, although he was bought from Sevilla, it seems like he was born at Madrid. So I mean, he wouldn't quite have the same impact at United straight away, but yeah, I think if he was to come to United, I think it'd be a brilliant signing on and off the pitch, absolutely. Even above Hummels and whoever else, maybe even above Otamendi in terms of what he can bring to the dressing room.
Yeah, I mean, definitely I've seen things saying about him being, he's quite a character on the pitch, isn't he? A lot of people sort of comparing him to Vidic in the way that he goes about his business at the top. Steve, I'm going to come to you because both yourself and Pasha have been quite passionate in wanting to get involved in this one tonight. So I'm going to come to you first. On your thoughts, pal?
Well, my thoughts on the Ramos thing, I mean, don't get me wrong, I think, again, top draw player, agree with everything Sam's just said there. I think it's just one of them that it was similar to what happened with Di Maria and Xabi Alonso last season, I think, where he obviously wants a bigger contract, and Man United are part of the negotiation for that contract. I would be massively surprised if he left. Obviously, everyone knows the huge politics at Real Madrid. It isn't an easy club to work with and play for, but he's done it for 9 years, and he'd absolutely walk into our side, mate. There's absolutely no doubt about that. Again, on and off the pitch, top draw. Probably would he be? I don't think he was everyone's number one name on the list who'd he wanted in the summer, but obviously sometimes when players like that become available, you just have to go and get them. And yeah, I think it's one of them. Like I say, I'd be massively surprised if he left. Not just because it's coming to Man United, but I think he's been there 8-9 years now at Real Madrid. Like Sam said, they bought him from Sevilla, but yeah, he's part of the furniture at Madrid. But Madrid have done stranger things, to be fair. So you know what I mean? It's one of them.
They have done stranger things.
It is. Nothing should surprise you in football. I mean, they've got rid of some top draw players, but I think I'm leaning to the foot with him stopping is purely because he's Spanish. You know what I mean? He's part of that furniture. But yeah, like I say, it'd be an unbelievable signing. Fees knocked around, and De Gea, it'll get a bit messy. But to be honest, I'm not even bothered about fees. If he's available and he wants to move, and he wants a little bit more money, pay it and get him here.
Yeah, it's a strange sort of. You sit there and you think, right, and you expect Woodward to be going at 100 miles an hour if he is willing to go, and he's willing to come to the Premier League. It is a bit of a strange situation for the Spanish players. In actual fact, I've always thought that Spain's dominance in European football and then initially afterwards in world football was basically because the majority of their top class players stayed in Spain. They played for the Barca or Real, and I thought that's why. But Spanish football did so well because they played similar types of football at both clubs, and that they extended onto the national teams. Going over to you, Pasha, on this Ramos. You wanted to have a right good rant on this, and I'm hoping this is going to be absolute superb viewing. So let's have your thoughts, pal.
In the last decade or so, you know, we've seen Real Madrid feeding off of United. You know, if we consider ourselves the biggest club in the world, you know, the way they've been treating us all this time, it's time to get some top class player from them. You know, with me is that yes, Ramos is a fantastic leader and stuff. I think what makes him better is because if you were playing, is more basically for his leadership and his defensive capabilities. Because there's times that Ramos is just like dead man walking with a red card, and there's times he gets shredded into pieces. I mean, he'll be a top signing, but I think with the paying 40 million euros plus David De Gea, so you tell me basically his value worth is 60 to 70 million euros. For me, if you want to look at long term, for me, I think it's sort of like a ripoff, to be honest. Looking short term option, that's the way I see it. Don't get me wrong, it's a top signing, but for me with Ramos is that, yes, Florentino Perez, we all know he's a madman. It's all about him. He does whatever he wants. You don't last too long at Real Madrid. Looking at the managerial perspective, and he got pissed at it because all the players wanted Ancelotti in there. But once again, if we're gonna get Ramos, it's the question of intent, us getting him. By the same time, nothing football is in concrete. For me, honestly, if we want to look long term, I think we should have gone all out for Rafael Varane. Yes, we need leadership and stuff. If we honestly want to go back winning our own titles, we got to spend mega money. And we are. The Glazers are open for that playing mega money. They used to be hiding back of Fergie's back. They didn't need to spend. Fergie saved them before getting slaughtered, hanging him by Old Trafford. You're kidding me. There's too many American madmen that would have shot him for thinking he's a black man. So, it's time. It's time to spend big money. And I think that, getting Ramos is a question of intent. But if we're going to get Ramos, I hope we should go out and get, what's his name? Otamendi. It's time. It's time for us to spend money. People say, we always talk about, you're saying you're spending how much. We didn't need to spend because we have Ferguson. Let's not even talk about Fergie right now, but I'm just trying to say, if we're trying to get Ramos, still for me, it's sort of like a rip-off of a deal. But at the same time, we need to get a top player from them, and why not? Let's just get Sergio Ramos. But at the same time, is he still going to join, or is he going to use United as a leverage and maybe things are going to sort out and he's going to sign a contract? And then when that's going to happen, I expect Johnny Evans to sign a contract extension, and then ultimately will be fuck all too. So let's see it. So I don't know, man. It's transfer window, but if we're trying to get him, let's go out and get Ramos. It's time for us, honestly. We need to come back this season. We need to spend, especially defensive line, and I'm looking forward to it. So
yeah, I think many United fans would like to see us stop being absolutely ram-raided by Real Madrid for players. It happened with Ronaldo. That sort of worked out in initial sort of thoughts. In actual fact, I think I'm going to go on to the De Gea point and goalkeepers, because we're going to move on to that next. But Ronaldo went obviously for 80 million. After a year at United, he stayed for the extra year, and I'm thinking, does Di Maria do the same now and give United that money, or do we? What do we turn up for next? My next question is going to be Lloris. It's been a bit strange. He's supposed to be told by Spurs that he would be allowed to leave for around 80 million. Sillerson is also available for around the same fee from Ajax. Which keeper would we go for? To be honest, Steve, I'm going to go to you on this one first, pal.
Out of two, the problem with dealing with Spurs is Levy will take it to the last day and get whatever he wants. Big money, and Man United can't be fucking about this year. Lloris, if he has got this clause that seems to come up every now and again, it's one of them that if you can get him for 18, 20 million quid and it can be done within 2 or 3 weeks, then yeah, you get him. Played in the Premier League, really good goalkeeper. The Dutch boy, again, Van Gaal would have worked with him, so if he buys him, there's obviously a reason for that. But out of the two of them, I'd probably take Lloris. But to be honest, after De Gea going, I think he'll probably, the no-brainer signing was Czech, and I think he'll keep Valdez and probably look again at number 2 in. But yeah, I'll take Lloris, mate, to be fair. I think he's the only one out of the two.
It seems that way, but they both still do good keepers, really. And I was going back to that point. What if De Gea signs a contract extension for the 3 years, but only stays for the one, and gets United the money for this season? does that then add value to Lloris's, if he has a really decent season at Spurs next season? Does that then give United would you want him to go in now and get the money that we needed for him?
Oh, business, the transfer market will dictate that, because if De Gea signs a 3-year contract with us in the next few months and we keep him for a season and there's a deal done to Real Madrid next season, then all it'll mean is De Gea for me will go for a world record fee, 35, 40 million quid. Again, if he performs like he has done for the past 2 seasons. And then when you sell a player of that value, when you're going in for a player in that same position, the fee it's going to go up. It's inevitable. I mean, looking back when Fergie sold Ronaldo, 80 million quid for a winger, I think he spent 16, 17 on Valencia, because he probably didn't want to go out and get one and be quoted 40, 50 million quid. I think that's what happens. You sell one big, massive player, they know you got money. You sell it like Torres at Liverpool sold him, and they got done with Andy Carroll for 35 because it was the last bit. I think that's how it goes. But it would be nice to see De Gea sign a contract, but I think it's been obvious for a decent spell now he's off.
Oh, we've lost the host. Who picks the camera angles now? He's back. He's back.
Are we still live? I've not had that problem since the first time we did Straight News TV, and that is a lesson learned of making sure your laptop's plugged in. The lads are going to tickle themselves all day long about that for next week. I can see Steve's absolutely, yeah, I'm not going to be able to do me Evans jokes for the next 6 weeks. Going on to you then, Sam, on this keeper situation. What would you like to see at United?
I'd like to
De Gea goes.
I'd like to see, like, De Gea is going. I mean, I'd be amazed if he stayed now. Like that, there's been a contract on the table for ages, and he's just not interested. I mean, we've reported before. His advisors actually said, you know, it might be better to stay in England, not just next season, but for another 2 for his development. But he wants to go back to Madrid. I'd be amazed if he stays. Personally, I'd want Lloris, but at the moment, United think is too expensive. There doesn't seem to be any sniff of a buyout clause. If there is, Daniel Levy's not mentioning it, so that one might have to drag on. But yeah, from a goal point of view, the interest is in Cillessen at Ajax. I'm not really sure what to think about that one. As you know, somebody judging who United should or shouldn't sign, I'd be disappointed with that. I mean, obviously Van Gaal knows him, but he's not exactly young. He's not when you bought De Gea and stuck our necks out. He's 26. I haven't seen a lot of Ajax. You know, the highlights are always on Sky, but they don't concede many goals, especially in the last couple of years, even though PSV won it this year. He's good with his feet, which is obviously what Van Gaal's always wanted. That's why he was so big in bringing Valdez to Barcelona. And I do trust Van Gaal, so it's one of those where you think, well, you know, he obviously knows more about it than I do, and if he wants to pick his own targets, then fair play to him. At the moment, it seems like Cillessen is the main goer, to use the transfer of parlance. Yeah, I'd prefer Lloris personally. I mean, yeah, Czech was never going to happen because he wanted to stay in London. You know, that'll be announced soon enough. But yeah, Cillessen is a cheap option as well. I think that's one of the main considerations. I think as much as United are going to spend this summer, yeah, there's talk about Arda Turan for 30, 40 million today, and if that's the case, and then there's Ramos and Otamendi, and then they want Harry Kane as well, which is 40 or 50 million. If they were to be allowed to spend it by Spurs, so I think they might even try and, you know, save a bit of money on the goalkeeper front. And there is Valdez as well, who obviously they think has got a good chance of running for number 1 next season if he didn't show it against Hull on the last day. I've lost sound here. I mean, I can carry on with Cillessen if you like.
Ian, you're on mute.
No, entirely sure what was going on there with Sammy. Seemed to have broken up. Pasha, keepers, man.
Yeah, for me,
Would you agree with the other ones? Obviously,
Yeah,
Czech's gone.
I'm not even
Without
thinking about
the question.
I'm not even thinking about Juris or Silesen. I'm thinking about Leno of Bayern Leverkusen. I can't believe we still haven't been linked with him. I don't know if you guys have watched him or not, but that kid has the potential to be world class, and he's such a young, talented kid. And for me, it will be him. But the thing with Silesen and Juris, I think the reason for us that we signed Valdez in the first place was maybe behind the scenes that they know that De Gea is going to leave, and he was going to be the main number one. Before his injury, he was world class, Victor Valdez. So in the short term, I could see why we're gonna make him be our number one goalkeeper, and in the long run, bring in Silesen or Juris, or maybe even make Juris number one. But that's another question to be made. But for me, honestly, is Leno to make him develop, learn from Victor Valdez. But the thing with Silesen for me, honestly, is I don't rate him, to be honest. I think that he's really average, and I understand he's a very young lad and he has time to grow. But for me, do we honestly need all these Dutch players? We're getting too many Dutch players in our team if that's the case. For me, Silesen is not a person that I would go to. It's a definitely toss up between for me, Leno and Juris, and I hope we somehow get linked with Leno. But for me, honestly, I think Victor Valdez is gonna be number one. Because why would we sign him in an 18-month contract, if he knew he was going to leave? So we brought him up, give him a good transition, rebuild himself. I think he's going to be the number one goalkeeper and with a backup to give chance redevelop the youngsters. But I don't rate Silesen, to be honest. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I've always expected a strong opinion from Pasha. Leno, yeah, I've heard the name. I've not seen too much of him, but it's another name to be thrown in the hat in respect to keepers, and it'll probably be another one that's going to keep us ticking for the next month probably. Louis van Gaal probably wants all these deals to be done in the next month. So as much as we've been frustrated since they did a pay deal, this next 4 weeks could be a really, really interesting time for United before they hit the US for the tour. And there's all sorts of names still banging around. Schneiderlin is on holiday this week, so that's why that died down. A lot of people going, people have gone quiet on Otamendi. That's because Ramos has come to the forefront. This is what the press do. They like to play one name and then the next name and then the next name, because basically they're playing, let me have some money for writing up whatever I want to write on some piece of paper, and the rest of you's all go mental, which I quite enjoy Twitter at this time of the year, apart from some of the other ones. Nani is linked to go out, strangely enough, not. He's been expected to be in Turkey on Friday, with the view of a move to Fenerbahce for 7 million. Would we need this? Jonathan actually touched on this one in his interview with Keith Gillespie that we had put up yesterday, and he talked about right-sided midfielders. Obviously, Gillespie was a right winger, and he put to him the full, and he mentioned Nani's put the full sort of right-winged options that United have got at the moment. Gillespie didn't think that Nani was good enough to be in the top two that United to keep. What would your thoughts be on this, Steve?
Yeah, I've been big on Nani for a decent amount of time now, mate. I call him a waste of space. I think the kids had chance after chance after chance. Anderson was in exactly the same bracket. Obviously, Nani turned out the better player than Anderson, but the thing with Nani was he's got everything a top player should have. He's quick, left foot, right foot, dribble, shoot from anywhere. He's got the lot. It's just his attitude. It's just shit. He ain't bothered about. He don't want consistency. He's happy playing a good couple of games and then doing nothing for 3-4 months. And for me, that ain't good enough for this Man United side. And why David Moyes gave him a massive contract 2 months into a job, and Nani didn't even perform for him, I'll never know. And Nani's been so hard to shift between now and then. That's one deal I actually hope that goes through pretty quick, to be fair, on Nani. he's had some good moments for Man United, don't get me wrong, but I'll look at it over a period of eight years now. Not good enough, mate. Not good enough.
I've never really thought he was pretty much good enough. At times he sort of had the one or two occasional really, really good games, but like you say, he wasn't consistent enough. For you, Sam, would you see him go? Would that be good? So good money for United to get $7 million?
Oh yeah, anything they can get now. Although the problem is they're going to have to pay off the majority. Well, I'm not sure how much Fenerbahce are going to pay exactly. I can imagine they'd actually pay quite a bit towards it, but it'll be nowhere near what he's getting at United. So I think United will be paying off a good percentage of that wage, like they will if Van Persie goes, just because they want so much money. But yeah, they should definitely get rid. He's had his time. If Van Gaal talks about twitching his ass last season, God knows what he'll be like with Nani in the lineup. It'll be a mess. I mean, Depay's going to be infuriating enough next season when he's trying shots from 40 yards, but we'll cut him a bit of slack because he's obviously got talent. But God, if we had Nani doing that as well, and when was the last time he proved himself to be good enough as a United player? As Steve said, he had a few good runs of form. The most recent one I can think of was about 4 years ago, towards the end of 2010, I think it was. Especially that game when Giggs scored 2 penalties against Spurs. He was good then. Not really recently, and God knows what Moyes was doing, offering him that contract. And the same goes for Ed Woodward. I mean, you'd like to think he's sorted himself out a bit now, Woodward, which is partly why I think this Ramos story has come to light, because he doesn't want to be seen as a pushover by Real Madrid. But he's still got a rash decision in him. So yeah, getting Woodward off the books might be an option soon. But getting Nani off the books, yeah, there's no way he can't stay, and any money back for him is a bonus.
Yeah, I've said it a couple of times that Woodward was put in the role by the Glazers, not because it was what he initially put him in for, but we won't go into the Glazers' backroom stuff. But yeah, they had an option. David Gill left them in a bit of a pickle. Ed Woodward had to step up and do a role that he's never had to do anything like before. And I think that's why United have been so tight-lipped. Can't remember who I spoke to the other day. Someone said to me the other day, United don't say a word to the press. If you're going to get any transfer rumours, they're going to come from players or agents. And it seems to be that way that we're coming across from this sort of transfer window at the moment, that they're coming across in that sort of way. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Nani's... I'm surprised Nani's not actually come out and tried to put himself in the shop window. Might have been a good ploy for himself there, really. Pasha, your thoughts on Nani? I think we've spoke a couple of times about this.
Yeah, they're both right, man. The thing with Nani is when Ronaldo left, he didn't reach his full potential. He had the chance to shine, and unfortunately he didn't take it. Nani's a very frustrating player towards the end of his career at United, and I feel like, when he left, it was when he got on the loan to go to Sporting, I knew it was time up for him, and it's unfortunate for him, but I respect him as a player. He came, there's big games. I think the best memory I'll ever have of Nani is the game against Bayern Munich when Louis was their manager. He was world class in that match. It's time, once again, it's a new era. We got to get rid of these deadwoods. These are back in Fergie's era, so it's time for new change, and I'll tell you, Memphis Depay, he'll make sure that Nani, we won't miss Nani basically with him coming in. But now we can look at the winger, and I know we're going to talk about Arda Turan later, which I'll discuss. But no, it's time for Nani to go. But I thank him for what he's done. But end of his career, he's been very frustrating to watch, and it's time to go.
Yeah, I think we can all sort of agree. It seems to be Nani out the window. Bye, pal. World class in games. I said that before. Nani, Pasha, you just said it. World class in games, but not all the time. And that's what I think. Living under Ronaldo's limelight didn't help him either. He was trying to be Ronaldo for most of his part until Ronaldo left, and then he sort of went a bit tipped up and downhill, and kept going downhill ever since. Moving away from that, in actual fact, I'm going to bring out another one from today's sort of news. Di Maria been linked with a switch to Barca, according to a Catalan newspaper, Sport. They say Barca have made an inquiry about it. Any news on this, Sam? Have you heard anything from Goal?
No, not currently, no. The thing with Barcelona is, I mean, when we put in the inquiry to our Spain desk and their Barcelona correspondent is they've got presidential elections, so it very much depends who gets elected in. Because if Joan Laporta gets elected in and he wants to buy Di Maria, then he will. But if he wants to buy Di Maria and Bartomeu gets elected in again, then it won't happen. I'd imagine that some people are putting the feelers out, because if they're running for candidacy and they say I can sign Angel Di Maria, then that shows they've got a bit of clout, and it's all games really. The thing is, he seems to have got out of the wrong side of the bed today, Di Maria, because all of his recent comments have been about how this season was tough and he had trouble settling in and he's going to be better next season. But all of a sudden now he's saying, he doesn't like not playing, he doesn't like being on the bench, he needs to play, he doesn't understand why he's not playing. And he's also said some stuff about Argentina. He was like, Sabella, the old coach, he did really great things, and he used the counter-attacking players we've got, and now we've got Tata Martino. And he was kind of like, well, read into that what you will. So he's obviously a bit more open about things today, and he's obviously betraying the fact that he's not quite happy at United. I don't think we'd sell him. I don't think there's any way to sell him now unless they can get their money back straight away, maybe even more. But I mean, I think he'll turn out to be alright as long as Van Gaal uses him properly. But yeah, as for Barcelona, I think it's just part of the game at the moment. There probably is an inquiry because, if you want a good, exciting player, you're going to ask whoever. Earlier in the year, way back, Man City were inquiring about Luis Suarez just because it wasn't going so well in November time. Things changed. They got told no chance straight away. They moved on. So like Barcelona now, they go, any chance with Di Maria? And, his blokes want to keep an eye out, and it's Jorge Mendes, isn't it? So if he can improve his terms or improve his standing or, make Van Gaal feel a bit uncomfortable over the way he's treated De Gea and Falcao, two more Mendes clients, then, I wouldn't be surprised. I can't see him going this summer anyway. I could see Barcelona making an inquiry. I can't really see it going much further than that, and obviously it would depend on whoever wins the presidential elections as well.
Yeah, I found that a bit strange about presidential elections. How does the president of a thingy become involved in who buys and what football players? Obviously, Ed Woodward has a bit of a say at the United, but he doesn't. With Louis van Gaal that gives him his transfer target to go out, and these Spanish clubs do this in a way to get themselves elected. I'm not entirely sure it sort of works. Both clubs, fan owned, are great fan sort of influence, but to me, it's not the sort of way to run a football club if your president's going to be touting names to buy just to get in. Di Maria, I thought that was a bit strange. I'm not. I was going to say I'm going to get interrupted by my cat here, but I'm not. Di Maria for me, strange one. His comments today were a bit strange, weren't they, Sam? I thought, you complained about being on the bench. He's not done too bad at the Copa America, although he did go on a bit of a blooming amazing, it's like 70-yard run with the ball in one, and you thought, well, you've got to finish this one off because you've not passed it to Messi, who stood an acres of space, and he didn't. And I thought, hang on a minute, is he going to follow on his form? He don't. So I thought maybe that getting back into the routine of things over the sort of Copa America time for Argentina would have helped him with that. He's not sat on the bench for them, despite the change in manager for the national team. So it's a bit of a strange one. I'm going to move on away from these ones and actually go back to a couple that we've had. Schweinsteiger. I've not spoke to either Pasha or Steve on these ones, so I'm going to go to you guys on these ones. United are still keeping interest in Schweinsteiger and Muller at this point, apparently. They're also keeping tabs on Bakker at Seville. Steve, what would you think on these sort of players? We're keeping tabs on these type of players. Should we actually be going out and saying, right, we're going to put our finger down on this, or is this whole thing with De Gea actually taking away what we should be doing and focusing on more than one player to buy at this stage of a transfer window. And I know we're months off, but Louis van Gaal's built most of his time on, well, we want to buy players for before we go on tour. So we've got everybody set and everybody on tour. And he was a bit upset that the pitch isn't going to be ready at Old Trafford to trade on and stuff like that. He's very methodical, we know this. So why on earth are we not going out and buying players, especially when you're pinging the word, the names, what words, names of Schweinsteiger and Muller about? Why can't we just go out and buy these players?
I think Schweinsteiger, to start off with, he's a player I've liked for ages. I like watching him play. God knows how many caps for Germany. Done everything at Bayern Munich. A lot of fans, for God knows why, they write a player off at 31. Again, I think 10 million or less than that. People just say, oh, it's probably worth a punt. These are top players, and Schweinsteiger, he'd just walk into our side. He's a player I'd take every day of the week. Going back onto the point about is it taken away? I think obviously you're going to have primary targets, and then if they're not available, he's going to do this job. And personally, he's going to be linked with Schweinsteiger because obviously working with him at Bayern Munich, and Schweinsteiger's always talked very well about Van Gaal, like a lot of the big European names have. So yeah, I would like to see that one happen. I don't know whether it will. I don't know whether he wants a move away from Germany, because sometimes Germans will move away from obviously their home country at that right time, aka like Michael Ballack, just want that last not big paycheck, but a lot more money and a new challenge. Yeah, I take him every day of the week, but I think too many. Did the Depay deal, like, it come out of not nowhere, because obviously United were linked, but I think because it was so speedy, a lot of fans just thought, well, that's it. We've done a deal in May, so they're all going to be done by mid-June, and that's it. And then you go on social media or speak to fans, and like, where's Ed Woodward? Is he on holiday? And it's like, there's so much that goes on behind the scenes. Sometimes it's easy to get a deal done. Sometimes it isn't. It's like Di Maria signed for us with like about 2 weeks left, I think, last year. And then obviously as the season goes on, there was talks in early July. So there's 6 weeks there do you know what I mean? To sort of negotiate, oh, he's available, we'll go and get him. It does take a bit of time. Obviously, we're in a lot better position than we were last summer, because obviously Van Gaal was away at the World Cup and he come back late. But yeah, I'm not worried about Woodward and Van Gaal not choosing the right players or taking the time, to be fair. I've got faith in the both of them.
Yeah, I think I'd have to sort of reflect those sort of things. I've always had faith in Van Gaal and to bring in the quality that he wants. He's not going to not bring in that type of player that he ever needs to not have. Pasha, I think we spoke before now about Barca previously. Obviously he's at Seville at the moment, and another Spanish team, United, just linked with everybody in Spain currently. Another one in Turan today, apparently from Atletico Madrid. I'm not entirely sure where that one was going, but Turkish midfielder, 28-year-old. His agent apparently says that he's always had desire to play in England. That doesn't necessarily mean that he wants to play in Manchester United at times. I'm sure the same was said for Mino, who's just signed for Liverpool, despite United apparently being in for him 2 weeks ago. As we put on the channel, a lot of people said, the United fans got a bit interested at that point, and it was a bit strange that all the Liverpool fans have done the same 2 weeks later, but they've landed their man, they've landed the one that they wanted. If United played a good part in that one, that would probably be because he now costs 29 million, and I've seen a lot of vines of him hitting balls over the bar. But in respect to taking the piss out of Liverpool on this one and moving back to points on United, those two players, Baka and Turan, just to finish off with, Pasha, would you want to see that type of player? They're not first class names, and Depay's not in retrospect really. Sneijderlin's not top class, world class player in retrospect. So these are sort of, and someone mentioned it in the comments, and I will go to them quite briefly in a second.
These players won't be considered world class because they need to go to a bigger club, and that's when people start rating them. I haven't watched Baka, to be honest, to honestly come and tell you. I'm not the kind of guy that I go on YouTube and then rate him as many people do. Let's go sign him, man. He's YouTube video, I'm not that kind of. I know he scored 20 goals, and I know he has an inspirational story that he used to be a fisherman. But I could tell you about Arda Turan, and let me tell you about Arda Turan. Who doesn't want that beard? Come on now, he's a phenomenal player. I'm saying as a result of talent. He's a right winger. The thing I like about Torrance is his versatility, and Louis Van Gaal likes that. He's a workhorse. That's what Arda Turan. He's a warrior, honestly. And if you look at the games he's played for Atletico Madrid down the years, he's saved them so many times. He's I don't think it will happen, but to be linked with him is still good. But once again, the thing I want to go back to is Schneiderlin. I think he'll fit in our team. Perfect replacement for Michael Carrick. Looking long term. The thing with Schweinsteiger is he's class, but he's too injury prone. We got to think about more long term. And I think Morgan Schneiderlin is 25 years old, and his value is worth it. That's a player I definitely want to see. I hope Arsenal doesn't snatch him. But going back to Baka, I haven't seen him to rate him. I don't rate him off of YouTube videos, but I do rate Arda Turan, and I like how we linked with him. But honestly, is he a natural winger do we need? Maybe so, maybe not. But once again, he's a great player, workhorse. Maybe that's the kind of player Louis likes. But once again, we linked with everyone. So who knows? Honestly, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? And it's still pretty much a guessing game in the old press, as we're thinking. We've bashed a couple of names out today, Sam. I'm going to come to you just finally here. Some of those comments on the YouTube ones are quite good. In actual fact, so let me just read through a couple. There's one good, but let's figure out. Darryl was enjoying my laptop switching off and then losing the host, which I've got a great panel, so my panel always figure out what was going on. Someone told us the under 21 score, which was always good to know. Not really. We're talking United transfers. Lloris to 20 million. Yes. Well, this is Darryl again. I'm going to go back to Alex's point right at the end here. He says Barca got their transfer ban, by the way. That doesn't mean that Di Maria won't go there and sit on the bench if one president wants to.
Di Maria is staying. He came out and said it. I know that for a fact. He came out and said it. Di Maria is staying. No question.
What was the other one that I found before? I've actually lost the comment now. But anyways, yeah, back to you, Sam, just to end on this, because I know I've gone a bit over the half an hour that we normally do for these shows, but my technical difficulties of having the laptop die on me, not once but twice. Out of the sort of names that have been banded around in the past week, what would you think are the realistic ones for United?
Schweinsteiger is really realistic, I think. I think there's definitely interest there. I think he'd be interested in coming. He's cheap enough, considering his experience and what he'd bring. Yeah, Pasha's right. I mean, he just struggled to stay fit, and so does any United player at the moment. So, I mean, that would be a worry, but we're talking about dressing room characters. And yeah, I mean, it'd be a big signing. And yeah, he is likely. Silerson again. I mean, we're talking goal information here, stuff we've reported in the past or will be reporting soon. Harry Kane, yeah, he's a big one that United do want. I don't personally, but that is the word from United. Oh, another thing, quickly, you mentioned that United just don't talk about transfers and it comes from agents or players. That's changed now. That was the case when Ferguson was there, but I mean, Edward was like a leaky tap. He's telling the press things routinely these days. I mean, you only had to see with the Fabregas stuff 2 summers ago, Moyes' first summer. It was all over the papers, and I mean, it's the same with Ramos now. It's come out that United want Ramos because the club want to make that known.
Yeah, but is it? Yeah, but is that Woodward tactically telling the press that rather than being leaky and having his hands burnt? Because that's what I thought when he first came in, and that Fabregas deal was dead in the water to start with, mainly because his wife if she was going to go back to England at the time, she wanted to go back to London because of his time at Arsenal. But yeah, I think Woodward, if he's going to leak any information at this point in time, would want to put it out there to be tactical about it. If he's going to leak information about us going in for Ramos, then is that because he wants to try and put some fear mongering to Real Madrid and say, right, well, there's a player there who's not happy. We can put his name in the press. You try and do some sort of deal where you're going to up your price for De Gea in sort of a way. Basically.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think. Actually, I think that is the main benefit to United. Not obviously they haven't confirmed it on the record, but they basically confirmed it off the record to any reputable United journalist. Andy Mitten was saying it in his ESPN blog, which is about as reputable as you can get for United. I personally, I think he's done that. And the line that came out in the Spanish press when this first happened on Sunday was Madrid said how much for De Gea, and Woodward said how much for Ramos. And, he would love that reputation, wouldn't he? He would love that reputation to be a strict negotiator, and I think that's personally, I think that's why he's been so forthcoming with it. I don't know if it will happen. I personally don't think it will, but I think that's why. So yeah, that's that covered. Yeah, in terms of the likely targets, they have looked at Schneiderlin, but again, Arsenal and Tottenham have put a lot of work into that over the last 12 months. That's probably looking most likely. Sterling gets thrown about occasionally, but I think that's just agent games. I don't think that would happen. Defenders, yeah, they are keen on Otamendi, but again, the price is massive, and I think he's proper focusing on the copper at the moment. Yeah, these things develop as they go on. Steve mentioned about Di Maria, talks being in place 6 weeks before it actually happened. There's inquiries everywhere, and that's why so many stories end up in the press, because there are inquiries, and some of them make it out, and then some of them don't happen, and the press looks stupid, but some of them do. And yeah, I mean, these things will develop, but yeah, there's a few there. There's Schweinsteiger, Silerson, and Kane. If they're not going to necessarily happen, but they're the ones at the moment that United definitely do want, and they are the realistic targets from a goal.com perspective.
Cool, it's glad to have that sort of perspective from you tonight, Steve. Despite my ins and outs, it's been a pleasure to talk to the lads. Pasha, where can we find you on Twitter?
Yeah, I'm available at PASA021. Thank you.
Cool. Get tweeting Pasha if you've got some views on what he said tonight. Sam, to you.
It's just really, really enjoyable chat about the media and United and Nani as well, unfortunately. He always finds a way to crop up, doesn't he? I look forward to next time. Cheers.
No worries. Thanks for that, Sam. You can catch him at Sammy_goal. Steve, where we can find you pretty much everywhere and anywhere, but if we can find you on Twitter, where do we find you, pal?
Usual place, mate, at SGCW7.
Good
Again,
stuff.
yeah, thanks for having us on the Transfer Talk.
No worries, pal. We'll look to have our guests mixed and matched up every week, so we may see you before the end of the transfer window. To finish off on, just for you guys that may have only just watched us on Straight News TV, there's a superb interview that Mr. Schrager has become absolutely astounding for his absolute superb interval skills with Mr. Keith Gillespie. Played for United 93 to 95, went to Newcastle United, says he would have never turned down Fergie, wasn't in his hands at the time. That interview is over on our YouTube channel. Check that out. Give us a subscribe up there. There's a Campo Retro, who we've put our nice little logo up there for shirt and a signed Keith Gillespie book up for chaps on that video, so keep your tabs on that one. We will be back next Wednesday for another transfer talk, and just keep it straight in news, guys. We will see you all again very soon. Alright.